Hi, you guys. It's Dr. Baker Townsend, and I wanted to go over this terminology with you. You're going to see this terminology. It's in Chapter 13 on page 283 of your text. And then there is it continues just a little bit on page 284. So we have to know or have a system to be able to document how many times someone's been pregnant, what's happened with the pregnancies, and so we use this GTPAL system. So you guys, this is pretty much straight up memorization. So a gravida woman is a woman who is pregnant. Okay, so gravida means that you have the products of conception, which is when the sperm and the egg meet and it's fertilized, and then it is implanted in the endometrial lining, or which now we call the decidua. So you guys, you have to memorize this word, gravida, a woman who's pregnant. Of course, we can define or we can further categorize this gravida woman. A nulla gravida is a person who's never been pregnant. A prima gravida is someone who's pregnant for the first time, and then a multigravida is a woman who's had 2 or more pregnancies. And so we use these words so that we can communicate more efficiently when we're talking about our patients. So now you guys, the next word that we're going to learn is parity. So parita, and this is the second part of the 2-digit system. The 2-digit system is gravity and parita. So we have already learned about gravity. Now we're going to learn about parity. And parity is the number of pregnancies in which the fetus or fetuses have reached viability. And if you see right below here, viability is at least 20 weeks. You have to hit 20 weeks for the parity to be viable. Sorry about that. There's a duplicate word there. And have been born. So the pregnancy reached 20 weeks, the number of pregnancies that have reached 20 weeks, and the fetus or fetuses have reached viability. They've reached 20 weeks and they have come out. So parity refers to the number of pregnancies, not the number of fetuses. So you guys, we're going to account for the number of fetuses in our different system, in our GTPAL system. So you guys, parity, you can never have a parity that's higher than a gravity. This is where students make mistakes. They want to count the number of fetuses instead of the number of events that happened after 20 weeks. So like, let's talk about Octomom. She would be, if let's say it's her first pregnancy, she'd be a gravida 1, and then she had a C-section, of course. That was one event. So she'd be a gravida 1, para 1, and then all of those 8 babies came out. But we're going to account for that in the GTPAL system, not in this system. So you guys, this is parity again, is the number of pregnancies that have reached 20 weeks and then the products of conception have come out. Now, you guys, on this, it doesn't matter to us if the baby, when we're talking about this, it doesn't matter if the fetus is born alive or is a stillborn. It still came out. So that is where there's some confusion. This next slide, feel free to read this. You guys, we know that babies can't survive below 23 weeks. So, you know, they talk about changing all this, and so this is just a statement from ACOG about how well children do or babies do when they're born early. Okay, again, viability. The baby was considered alive once movement was felt until the 19th century, and that was called quickening. So now you guys, we just call it viability. But you know, back in the day, you know, back in 500 BC or just whenever it was, when they felt the baby move, they felt like the baby was alive. Of course, we knew the baby was alive the whole time, but we've really settled on viability is halfway through the pregnancy at the 20-week mark. Okay, so now parity, we can also just talk about parity and how many times a woman has reached 20 weeks and the products have come out or been born. A nulla A nullipara is a person who's never completed a pregnancy past 20 weeks. A good example here would be someone who keeps having first trimester losses or abortions or miscarriages, and all those words are the same. And so she could be like a gravida 5 or 6, and she never reached 20 weeks. So she'd be a nulliparida or a nullipara. A primipara is a woman who has completed one pregnancy with the fetus or fetuses who have reached the age of viability and been born. Okay. A multipara is a woman who has completed 2 or more pregnancies to the stage of fetal viability and they've been born. And then grand multipara, this is kind of like, oh shoot, 19 and counting or 20 and counting. Duggar, Miss Duggar, she's definitely a grand multipara. A woman who has completed 5 or more pregnancies and then the fetuses have been born. So that's our G and our P system. That's our G and our P system. So when we talk about it, you're just going to document G, the number of pregnancies, including the current one. This is where students mess up, is when they're reading the documentation and they forget that she came in pregnant. So they just want to do the ones that she's had before, but you definitely need to get all of the pregnancies in there. And then parity is the number of pregnancies terminating after 20 weeks, meaning it hit 20 weeks and the products have been born or have come out. Okay, so now there's a second system, and the second system is a 5-step system or a 5-digit system. So the first one we have is gravida, and that's the same. You guys know that's the same. But now this system is GTPAL, and this is not parity. This is just describing every single thing that happened to the gravida. So again, this is different. So she got pregnant, and now we're trying to see what happened to that conception. How many term babies did she have? How many preterm babies did she have? How many abortions did she have? And then how many living children does she have? So again, gravida refers to the number of pregnancies, including this one. I'm going to try to get my cursor off. Including the current one. Now in this system, TPAL, term means the number of pregnancies terminating after 36 weeks gestation, meaning they had to make it to 37 weeks. So when it says after 36 weeks, that includes 36 weeks in 1 day, 36 weeks in 2 days, 36 weeks in 3 days, 36 weeks in 4 days, 36 weeks in 5 days, 36 weeks in 6 days. If they don't make it to 37 weeks, they're not considered term. They have to make it to 37 weeks. Preterm is the number of pregnancies terminating after 20 weeks, so they reach the age of viability, and then they made it to 36 weeks, meaning 36 weeks and up to 6 days, and then the baby came out. So they did not make it. They made it past viability, they made it past 20 weeks, but they did not make it to term, so they terminated before 37 weeks. Abortion, they didn't make it to viability. Number of pregnancies terminating before 20 weeks gestation, and this happens a lot with people who have first trimester losses. And then living. So now this is where the kids come into play. So remember, parity is the number of events that happen after 20 weeks. It doesn't count fetuses. So here we can count the number of children that are living at this very moment. At this very moment. So let's say Octomom, and they have a little bit of a different system for multiples, but if we use this system for multiples and we use this example, this is quite interesting. So Octomom, let's say she got pregnant once. Of course she had a preterm delivery because there's no way your uterus can stretch out and make it to 37 weeks with 8 children in it. So she'd be a gravida 1. And then of course she didn't make it a term, so she'd be a T0. She'd be a preterm 1 because she had one event that happened from 20 to 36 weeks and 6 days. And during that event, all of those babies came out, but it's just one event. Abortion, let's say she'd had no abortions. And then let's say living. So we did this, let's say we did this, we took this history right after she delivered and they were all living. So she'd have L8. So she'd be a G1, T0, P1, A0, L8. Okay, now let's say that she put them all in a bus and put them in car seats and they were all on the way home. And I'm not trying to sound gory here, but I just need to use some type of example. And the bus, I don't know, got hit and all of the children died. And someone took a new history of her, okay? So she would then be a gravida 1, a term 0, a preterm 1, because remember she had that one event where all those fetuses came out. Abortion would be 0. And at the time that we're taking this after the accident, L would be 0. So when you're talking about living children, it's the children alive at this moment. Okay, I'm going to, I'll answer questions on the discussion board. Please feel free. Thank you so much, and you guys have a good day.